Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 3 of the Dragon Prince podcast. My name is Will, and let's get right on into it. So thank you again for joining us for episode 3, going into our third week of the show. It's been phenomenal. The response online has been awesome, like we've been saying, like the past couple weeks, and we're really looking forward to hopping deeper into this show. This week, we're going to be diving into a lot of the kind of response that we got on Twitter and kind of the continued discussion, as well as some new news pieces that came along this week as well. So the very first piece of news was that the official Dragon Prince Twitter page posted a poll on August 1st that said, if you were going to draw or cosplay as one of the characters from the trailer, who would it be? We'll be revealing some special information for the top choice. So there was a couple options here. There was Rayla, there was Prince Caleb, there was Runan, and then there was Prince Ezran and Bait. And the poll went underway with almost 2,000 votes, and the winner was Rayla with a whopping 51%, followed by Caleb with 21, Runan with 18, and Ezran and Bait with 10. Unfortunately, we won't be seeing any Bait in this new info dump, but that's all right. Rayla, I think, as we all agree, is probably the character that most people are looking forward to seeing more of, and was the winner. So following that, we got some really great stuff. They tweeted out August 2nd, Rayla is the youngest Moon Shadow Elf assassin, but she is the fastest and strongest of any of them. So that was the tweet, and then we got a couple photos. We got full body shots of what she looks like in terms of like her outfit, with the grainy blue type of hunter assassin type gear. Again, we see her white mid-length hair. We see some interesting markings under her eyes, and of course her distinctive horns. We get a close-up of her hand, which is very interesting because we can see that she has 4 fingers. Humans have 4 fingers and a thumb. So they have like 5 fingers, I guess you could say. But the elves have 3 fingers and a thumb. So one less than your typical. It looks like they don't have a pinky, basically. That's the thing that they're missing. Another thing to note there is the bracelet that she's wearing as well, which is also very interesting. And then we saw probably, so those were sketches, I'm assuming. And this last image that we got in this set was probably a still from the show. We see the background and we see her looking maybe a little bit perplexed, a little bit disturbed, surprised, I don't know, but it really highlights the artwork in the show. So that was awesome, but that didn't end just there. We got a couple more things after that, which are very interesting. We got 2 GIFs that they uploaded to their Twitter page on August 3rd. The first one has the quote, "My heart for Zandia," and it's a it's a GIF of her running and jumping, bat flipping with a hood on. It really kind of shows her dexterity, her agility, and like assassin, like, tenacity, I guess you could say. So it was really great. And then the second GIF we got with the quote, "An assassin doesn't decide right and wrong, only life and death." And we see Rayla again flipping and swinging from trees, landing, pulling down the hood, and revealing 2 blades. They're not quite sword length, I would say, but they are very cool. They're pointed, they're sharp, they have a long handle, and that will be interesting to see used. And obviously, this was awesome because the fan art community, which is one of the strongest aspects, and I definitely want to include more of that kind of stuff going forward in our own show. But what we saw was a lot of really great new fan drawings that were created of Rayla, and it's going to be a great reference for cosplayers going into the next convention that they attend. So overall, it's been hugely positive, and it's going to be interesting. One thing I'll note about the GIFs that you can go check out on their Twitter page is it really kind of dispels a lot of people's maybe hesitation a little bit with what the show might look like art style wise. I know on Twitter it hasn't really been much of a contention, but on Reddit it has. This really highlights the amazing backgrounds that look hand drawn. And obviously we know they're not, but it looks really good. The frame rate looks excellent. And it really highlights the art well, more so than the trailer does, I think. And it really kind of hopefully puts to rest some of those pesky comments. So definitely go check those out. And then the last little bit of news is obviously after that success of that poll, now today, which is August 6th, a new poll was put out, and it reads, which yet to be named character would you like to meet next? And the three options that you can all vote for, you have about 20 hours left once this podcast comes out, and there's 600 votes already, is the King, the Mysterious Mage, and the Handsome Swordsman. So I voted for the King, who's currently in last place with 16%. Neck and neck are the Mysterious Mage and the Handsome Swordsman. I mainly picked the King because I'm interested to see a little bit more about him, hear a little bit more about him. I'm really interested, kind of, if you didn't get it from the last episode, in the whole political power dynamics, and I hope they explore that in the show, but I'm really interested to see like his power and who he is and how he behaves as a character. But go online, go to the Dragon Prince Twitter page and pick the one that you want to vote for sure. And let us know, tweet us which one you picked, because I'm really interested to see who people are interested in. The Mysterious Mage is also a very good pick. I'm interested in that one as well. So that's it for news. Now let's get back into a little bit of the kind of discussion type stuff that I enjoy so much. So after the last episode, we got some comments, which was great. First up was Neo Shadow on Twitter at _darkmess. And they said to us, so theory here, the egg we see Ezran holding in the trailer is actually the unhatched prince of the dragons, which the humans stole, and is the reason why Rayla joins the princes. It may also be one of the reasons the elves are attacking the castle. So if you remember correctly, based off of what we think and theorize, based off the trailer and some of the other information we have, the princes are going to have obviously something to do with the egg, and why Rayla teams up with them, those human princes, is unknown, but this would make sense. One thing we didn't talk about, we failed to mention, was that in the trailer, Ezran is holding the egg, which makes perfect sense. This unhatched egg could be a dragon, similar to what we see with like Daenerys in Game of Thrones with the dragons that have been extinct for some time, and it would explain why Rayla is hesitant, because obviously she probably wants to herald in the rebirth of the dragons or go on the trip or whatever it may be to discover what this egg's all about and the mysteriousness behind all of this. But that comes at the cost of alienating her group, her clan of elven individuals. So that's definitely on the right track, Neo Shadow, and I completely agree with that. I think that is on the right track for sure. And the discussion didn't end there. We got more from our favorite friend and first guest on the show, at Dragon Prince Fan, and she said that based off of James's comments in the last episode, making connections between, I forget it was Caleb. Yeah, it was Caleb and Zuko from Avatar: The Last Airbender, that no, indeed, she doesn't see the connection as much between them because they are crown prince in good standing, but she sees more of Zuko and Rayla, who is this elf who is most likely going to be in conflict with her clan and disgraced over that. And I can completely agree with that. I think that's a better judgment for sure. And it makes sense, especially because based off of what the motives we have was, we have this elven clan attacking this castle, Rayla being one of them, stalking down the princes to capture them or assassinate them, whatever it be. And then all of a sudden, at least from the perspectives of the elves, like, she's on their side, she's teaming up with these humans. What the hell is going on? And that makes total sense. And that's definitely more of a Zuko thing, and her kind of conflicted timeline as that goes on will be very interesting to see. The next thing here is that there's also a problem here. I wonder if maybe Claudia and her brother, I really suspect Claudia is the dark mage from the trailer that may be following the trio with the intent of saving them from Rayla, assuming it's a kidnapping. And this opens a new can of worms and theories that I've been thinking about over the last little bit. First, we'll talk about Claudia being a dark mage. That is an interesting theory, and I can definitely get behind that because it ties into my other theory, which is we've seen Claudia and her brother as more of, they're older, they're more mature, they're more talented in sword fighting and things like that than Ezran and Caleb, making them probably a better match in terms of combat with Rayla. Now, if it looks like and is set up that Rayla kidnapped these princes, but really they were in on it and have escaped, so nobody could capture them to go find out whatever this mystery is, it would look like, from an outsider's perspective, that the elves were in on it, and it would be Rayla, because Rayla is the one that was probably is going to be seen with them, that she looks like she's kidnapping them. So the king dispatches two of his best in Claudia and her brother to track them down. Now, what I can see here is that becomes kind of a conflict. And it would be really interesting to see if Claudia and Rayla become these rivals. Similar ages, probably, similar talents and skills in terms of level. And then they really kind of face off. I would be really interested to see that. And also, maybe not in a purely dark, evil way, but Claudia being the antagonist of the first season because she's trying to thwart Rayla and the boys, unknown to her somewhat that the boys are in on this, but as they're tracking them down, or maybe she'll find out that the boys and Rayla are, trying to do this and is against it for whatever reason. Is she the one using dark magic? Is she really evil? Is she really bad? That's something that's interesting to me also, because this is bringing me to my next theory. We talked about it. The humans that we see so far, or at least what we've speculated, is we know that dark magic was introduced by humans, and that humans seem to be maybe not the just outwardly evil like we see like Darth Vader or something, but that they've made some bad choices. But in the last episode we said, well, dark magic created by humans, great, but it doesn't look like this group of humans with Ezran and Caleb and et cetera, are dark magic users. But this brings me to an interesting thought. What if dark magic is such a part of the human society that it's normalized? From Ezran and Caleb's perspective, dark magic, just a normal thing. It's nothing really that bad. It's kind of sinister, but it's normalized. They grew up with it, so they don't really see it as a bad thing. Similar connection, like say you were the world's worst dictator and you had kids, and the kids were always kind of brought up in a bubble, in a shell, probably don't understand that their father or mother is the world's worst dictator currently destroying the lives of millions of people. They're just dad to them, or mom, or whoever. So what I'm interested in is seeing if Ezran and Caleb are conditioned to believe that the humans' magic is just simply that magic and they use it to their advantage and that's just the way things are, or if I'm completely wrong in that, and that they're actually just good people and they use magic that's not dark, if they even have the ability to do that. So I'm really interested to hear from the community their thoughts on that theory, particularly overall, but also to get back on track with the whole Rayla thing. Runan, we see in the trailer that Rayla is fighting Runan, which is very interesting. It looks like it's on some sort of ramparts, which, I don't know how that plays into the timelines, because just how I've been thinking about it is like she goes and attacks the castle like in the first couple episodes or whatnot, finds the boys, something happens and then they go off together, but it might be a little bit longer and more complicated than that. But where is the opportunity for her to fight Runan? Does Runan stalk her and find her, similar to like Claudia maybe stalking after the boys? And like that being the parallel story, Runan going after Rayla because she thinks something's happened there, and then Claudia going after the boys because she thinks they've been kidnapped, and then it ends up to be this big brawl. But she ends up fighting Runan, which I think will be an incredibly emotional moment, because the elves at least seem to be very deeply connected, and it would be like fighting a friend or family, obviously. So that'll be really interesting, and I'm not sure how that's going to play out, but that could also further disgrace her and exile her from her elven community because she fights one of her own and maybe kills him or injures him, or maybe she loses. I'm not quite sure, but what's interesting is that whole dynamic there. So overall, as we can see, there's a couple things that we're getting into speculation wise here that I want to hear your thoughts on. First and foremost, what are your thoughts about the egg that Ezran has? Do you believe it's like a dragon or has something to do magically with the dragons? A. B, do you think Claudia is a little bit more conspicuous and more evil than maybe at first sight, and she's going to be an antagonist going forward? What do you think of the whole Rayla thing and her conflict with the elves, especially with what we see with her and Runan? And what do you think, lastly, and at least to me the most interesting, is about the humans and their use of magic and the normalization of that magic? Do you think it's inherently these groupings of humans are evil, etc.? And how is that going to play out? So that's really it for this week. Shorter episode. Again, we don't have a ton to go off of. Let's continue this discussion as we get more and more information that we want to discuss here. Again, if you want to listen to this podcast, or if you're listening for the first time, thank you very much. You can also find it on various platforms: Anchor, Spotify, Google, iTunes, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And obviously, and lastly, YouTube has been a big home for the show, and thank you for everybody listening on YouTube. Thanks for joining episode 3 of the Dragon Prince podcast. My name is Will, and we'll talk to you soon.